This is the film where things start to differ a little bit. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a good day. Hope you're staying safe, staying healthy. Today we're doing the third Harry Potter film in my Harry Potter review series where I go back and I rewatch the Harry Potter films. I haven't watched them in a couple of years, so I'm going back. I'm enjoying every single one so far. Today we're on the third film in the series, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is a 2004 film directed by Alfonso Cuarón. Once again, music is by John Williams, and once again starring Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, Tom Felton. Has Gary Oldman in it. Alan Rickman's back, of course. Maggie Smith. Has David Thewlis as Professor Lupin. And this is Michael Gambon's first film as Dumbledore. Richard Harris sadly passed away after the second film came out, and they had to replace him with Michael Gambon. And it's unfair of me to talk about this film without talking about the replacement of the character of Dumbledore. Richard Harris really portrays that really loving side of Dumbledore, the more compassionate side, the one that listens to him, and he really portrays that really kind, old, wise, wizarding figure that we've come to know and love. But in this film, we still get that from Michael Gambon, but we get a sense of more there's a power there. There's a reason behind everybody calling him the most powerful wizard of all time. There's a little bit of that sternness, that seriousness, that urgency in this film. And that's one thing I need to talk about right now. Chris Columbus directed the first two Harry Potter films, and then he was a producer on this film, but a different director took over for Prisoner of Azkaban. This film does feel different than the other two Harry Potter films. The first two Harry Potter films have that certain aesthetic to it. They look a certain way, they feel a certain way, the music is pretty similar. And while John Williams does compose this film, the music does feel slightly different. The shots look different. The lighting looks different. The layout of some of the castle is different. The castle itself looks the same. Everything looks the same. Hagrid's hut looks the same. However, the layout of Hogwarts itself looks different. Now, this is just from my memory, but if I remember correctly, when you're looking from Dumbledore's point of view, when he's looking at the Great Hall, that Slytherins are seated all the way to the right, and the Gryffindors are the second from the left, if I remember correctly. In this film, the seating has changed. Now, the Slytherins are second from the left, and the Gryffindors are second from the right. They changed up a couple of things. They add these little stones in front of Hagrid's hut. There's like a hill, and then there's Hagrid's hut. The Whomping Willow is farther away from the castle than it was before. The Black Lake is farther away from the castle, so it gives the grounds more space. It shows that there's more space than there was before. The Gryffindor common room is in a different position than it was in the first film when we first see it, and while I prefer the older films, I don't have a problem with them changing up the layout, especially if they were doing it for like detail and what they really wanted. So we start off this film, Harry is practicing magic at his house of the Dursleys. Problem number one right there. You cannot use magic outside of school. It's a really big deal. Later on in the film, he gets concerned because he uses magic outside of school. He knows he broke the law, but he didn't have a problem with doing his homework in this beginning scene. He's living with the Dursleys, and Aunt Marge is coming to say hi. She's being a complete bitch to Harry, talking about Harry's parents in a very bad light, and this is when you see some of Harry's angsty teenage self coming out a little bit here. He loses control, blows up his Aunt Marge, she goes off somewhere in the sky, and Harry runs away from the Dursleys' house. He's running away when he gets scared by this big black dog. Then he has a really fun trip on the night bus, ends up at Diagon Alley. He meets the Minister of Magic, who's just very happy that Harry's just okay. We learn during this sequence that Sirius Black, a known killer, is now on the loose. He's escaped Azkaban prison. And we learn later that from Arthur Weasley that he is actually going to be after Harry. The real big pressing issue is Sirius Black. He breaks into the castle at one point. Because Sirius Black is on the loose, Hogwarts is now surrounded and protected by these creatures known as the Dementors, which are the guards to the wizard prison of Azkaban. Now, J.K. Rowling has come out and has said that Dementors are the physical representation of what she believes depression would be. And in this film, Harry is learning from his new professor, Professor Lupin, how to take out Dementors, how to defend himself, because whenever he gets around them, he ends up fainting or passing out, and it seems to be a big problem, and he doesn't like that he can't defend against himself. Hagrid is also a teacher in this film, so we get to have some fun in classes with Hagrid. I want to touch upon Daniel Radcliffe's acting. I believe his acting has improved from the last two films, but there is a very super serious scene right after he learns that Sirius is his godfather. He's supposed to be crying, supposed to be very emotional. I feel like he was, once again, really pushing for the emotion. But the rest of the film, his acting is really, really fantastic, and I think he's gotten a lot better. Gary Oldman as Sirius Black is one of the highlights of the film. Lupin is one of the highlights of the film. He is a wonderful character. Once again, the best character in this film is Alan Rickman as Severus Snape.
Turn to page 394.
We get some one-on-one scenes with Snape in this film. Harry at one point is walking through the corridors late at night with his brand new map, which is important later, trying to figure out how this person who's supposed to be dead is actually still alive. And he comes face to face with Snape. We get the really fun scene where Snape is teaching the defense against dark art classes. And for those of you who say Snape is a bad person, he's a bad character, watch this right here. The very first thing he does when he realizes there's a werewolf right in front of them is throw his arms across those kids to protect them. Snape is a good guy. The Weasley twins give Harry the map that allows him to see everybody in the castle and everything that they're doing at all times. So that way Harry can sneak out to go to Hogsmeade and just have some fun. Now, they don't say this within the context of the movie, but if you've read the books, you would know that the Marauders, the one who created the Marauders map, are actually Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, Peter Pettigrew, and James Potter. And they never said that in this film. With a couple of lines of dialogue, you could have expanded upon this world even more. And another thing they didn't really explain was the fact that Sirius Black can turn himself into a dog, Remus Lupin is a werewolf, Peter Pettigrew can turn into a rat, but they never explained that James Potter could turn into a stag. When Harry and Sirius are being attacked by the Dementors, Harry sees a stag. He thinks it's his dad. The reason he thinks it's his dad is because he, in the book, was told that his dad could turn into a stag. But within the context of this film, I don't see how he could think that was his dad. It was just a stag. It could have been anybody. This is where the films start to differ a little bit from the books a lot more. The first two were very faithful adaptations of those books. But this one, it starts to differ from that, and it continues to differ from that from the rest of the series. It starts off very accurate, and most of it is very accurate, but they leave out a couple of those kind of key things that would be important later on that they just leave out because they want extra time for some funny jokes. And this book is only about 100 pages longer than the other two books themselves, so it's not even like they have to cut that much more than the other movies did. I'm saying a lot of really bad things. This film is still an accurate representation of the book itself. It's a good, faithful adaptation. The lighting in this is fantastic. Like I said before, the shots are a little bit different. There are some things I don't completely understand, but that's okay. They took some creative liberty with this film, and they turned it into its own thing. It feels different from the first two, but not different enough to where you can't tell it's in the same universe. This is a fun film. It's a little bit scarier than the first one. It's not like I'm watching this film going,
well, I forgot this part, I forgot this part. How could I forget this part? How could I forget it?
And while I would have wished they had included those more key aspects of these things, I can understand why maybe they didn't. They still explain enough of everything to where you get the entire picture. The night bus sequence alone is one of the most fun sequences in the entire series. If you want to watch the movie just for the first 20 minutes, just so you get the night bus sequence, be my guest. At the end of the day, I like Prisoner of Azkaban. It does feel different from the first two, and while I prefer the feeling and the tone of the first two films, I do understand that as the series matures, as our characters mature, we have to get darker and grittier, and we have to move forward, and I understand that. It's still good. It's still faithful. I would still recommend watching it to anybody who hasn't watched these films before. I hope you guys are all having a fun day. If you haven't watched Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, definitely go watch that. Have a fun time with it. Get some popcorn. Get yourself a big Pepsi. You know how it is. Once again, y'all have a fun day. Stay safe. Stay healthy. I'll be back later. Bye.